Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Today I'm going to be working on my donated lemon tree. I've had this tree for 8 years now. I can't believe it's been 8 years since I first got this tree. It was given to me. It was growing upright in a pot, a large pot, and it had a Y-shaped root system. I wasn't sure what to do with it, so I cut off the one root and turned it into a Cascade style tree. Here is a look at the lemon tree today. I think it's developing quite nicely. I'm going to prune it up today and get it ready for spring. My Cascade lemon tree kind of goes against my styling principles. Usually I try and make the tree look like a tree growing in nature, a natural looking tree. And this one, I don't know if you'd ever see a lemon tree in a Cascade form like this. So it's kind of a little against my philosophy of making a natural looking tree, but when life gives you lemons, you've got to make lemonade. So I tried to make the best tree out of this tree that I could, and I think it's a successful looking tree. I think it looks quite nice as a bonsai. Maybe it's not a natural lemon form. I've had this tree chilling in the basement for the winter. Lemon trees like a cool period over the winter. So when spring comes, it should warm up and start growing with a lot of vigor. I'll show you the scar where I originally cut the one leg of the Y-shaped root system off. So it's around the back here. You can see it there. It's healing slowly. The other big cut, there was a large bulge in the trunk, and I took out a whole section of it. And I wasn't sure if I should do that. It was quite ugly from the front, that bulge in the trunk. And I cut it away, and I think it's successful. From the front view, the trunk flows now. It doesn't have that large bulge it had here. So I think the cut was successful, even though the back of the tree isn't the most pretty. It's kind of got some big wounds, but luckily, you know, it's around the back. You don't really see it, and maybe someday they'll heal over or become a feature of the tree. I'm going to begin the pruning now. So you can see the tree has a cascade kind of trunk. I have an upright structure up here, sort of the crown of the tree. I have this sort of flat cascade branch, and there's a branch out the back. So I'll have to make a lot of decisions, which branches I want to keep, which branches I want to redirect with clip and grow, and try and, set it up for its new spring growth. I'm going to begin the pruning in the apex region here. So I'm looking at the trunk line. It comes up, it kind of goes to the right, the left, the right, and then back to the left. And if I keep these two branches growing up top, it's kind of growing back towards the left hand side, and I think I want the apex a little shorter, and I want this zigzag to go back to the right hand side. So I'm going to prune off the top of the tree. I'll lose 2 branches here, but I'll have to develop more in the future. So my first cut, I'm going to prune back to this leaf going to the right hand side, leaving a bit of a area for dieback. So here I go, like that. So you can see that kind of shortens the tree, and I'll get it zigzagging in the right direction. I have a new branch here, this little one shooting up, and I've got to decide, do I want to keep that? It's kind of growing almost vertical. And I've got to decide, well, does it have a future? Do I want to grow a branch out in this direction? So let's go to the front view and just have a look at it. It's not the worst branch in the world, because I have like staggered branches here. One to the left, one to the right. My outward facing leaf is way up here on it, so I could at least prune it to here, like that. But it's still quite upright and doesn't really flow that well. I have a leaf out the back here. that I could prune it back to, which would make it shorter. I don't really want to develop a branch from this leaf because it'll cross the trunk line. So I could prune it back to here, shortening that branch and then developing it out to the left-hand side here. I think I'll leave it on and see what happens, see how it develops. If it's not working out, this branch, in the future, I can always prune it off then. It's not that large a branch. It won't leave too big a scar if I do decide to remove it. So for now, I'll keep it on there. Next, I'm looking at this branch coming out over to the right-hand side here. It's got a lot of good subdividing on it. It's got a branch out the back, and then it divides into 2 branches at the tip. I think it's okay. I don't think I would want to change it at all or shorten it. I think that branch is developing fine. It's kind of straight. I did prune it once back here. If I shortened it, I could only shorten it to here, or do a Hail Mary cut and shorten it back. But I think it's fine the length it is. I think I'm just going to leave that branch. Now the branch out the back here, you can see this part of it's getting very tall. That needs to be reduced back. So let me rotate it around to the back here. Here is the view of the back of that branch. So it comes up. I've got a branch off here and then 2 coming from this point. I do want to shorten this whole apex. I have a leaf down here that I could prune this one back to, so I will. Or maybe I could, no, I better go right back. That other leaf wasn't facing a good direction. And then I've got to decide, what do I want to do in this area? This branch flows nicely, whereas you can see these 2 are 90 degrees to the branch line. So I think I want to keep all of those branches, just prune off the tip here to redirect that branch and get a bit more movement in it. So that's shortened up this sort of back branch, and it's cleaned up the whole apex of the tree. So let's have a look at it from the front now. So there's a view from the front, and it looks much better. This is the tallest part of the tree now, the apex. This is a little flatter, this back branch, and this one's fine. So next I want to prune up this branch coming out the back here and decide what to do with it. It kind of goes to the left-hand side quite a bit, and it looks okay. It's a little strong on the left-hand side, so let's rotate it around and have a look at it. So here is a look at that branch. It comes up, it divides nicely into 2 here, and I don't think I need this one sticking up here because I have a nice division of 2, and I think it's going too far to that left-hand side, so I'm going to prune that part of it off. So here I go, like that. This tree had a little bit of scale on it. I've sprayed it already with soap and water, and I've picked any scale off I see, so should do quite well. I'm going to remove this one old leaf here. It's kind of in the way, blocking light to these new growing tips. And there's an old leaf here I can also remove. So let's have a look at this from the front now. Here's a look at that branch from the front now. So it's looking much, much better. It's a little flatter. It doesn't go to the left-hand side quite so much. Yeah, I think that's a good improvement to the tree. So next, I have this Cascade branch to prune up. I've got a new shoot here, which I think I like. It divides, nicely from 1 to 2 here. But there's a lot of vertical growth on this Cascade branch that needs pruning. So let's let's get this branch pruned up now. So the first thing I notice is I have a vertical branch here. It's coming off the Cascade branch, and it's too tall, and it's not really growing from a good location. I have plenty of other branches in the area, so I think that one's going to be removed totally. I pruned it back once here, and it just continued to grow straight up. So I'm going to take it right off. So here I go. Like that. So you can see, you can already see the cascade form of this branch a little more now. I also have another kind of vertical branch here that I pruned once here, and then again up here it was getting too tall. And again, I'm looking at it, I have a branch that's down low coming in a nice direction that I could develop, keeping it a flatter branch. I could just prune the tip off it. I have a branch coming out there, a leaf coming out the front here. So I think I'll prune it back short to here, and then maybe see what happens in that area. This branch is definitely a good one. There's another branch growing vertically off of this branch here. I think I'm going to remove that. I don't want that growing there. So off this little one comes. Once I get in here, there. So that comes off, and it kind of flattens that branch out. I'm going to remove a leaf here that's growing inwards, just to get some more light to this area and hopefully get some more back budding, so I can further develop more branching in that area. The next one I've got a branch here. It's been pruned several times, once here, twice, 3 times. And again, it's getting very tall and vertical. So I need to prune it back. And the only leaf I have that's flowing in this direction is this one way up here. So I could at least prune it to here. But I think, I'll need to prune it back quite hard. I think this is going to be sort of a Hail Mary cut on this branch. I've got some buds, leaf scars in here. So I am going to do a Hail Mary cut on this branch and just prune it off here. Here I go. Like that. Shortening it back, and hopefully I get some good growth off of that branch. I should get something. So that's really kind of flattened the Cascade branch out, but I'm not done yet. I need to prune up these branch tips. So this branch, it comes out, it divides nicely. I'm going to remove an old leaf here. It divides nicely from 1 to 2 here, and both of these branches are nice and flowing. So I want to continue this sort of cascade form. So I have a leaf on the bottom here. There's one on the inside. So I need to shorten this branch, and I think back to here is a good place. So here I go, like that. I'm also going to shorten this other branch. I have a leaf on the bottom here. There's one here, so I can at least take it back to here. And maybe I could even bring it back further, but I'm not sure. I think if this leaf develops into a branch, it'll grow underneath this other one. So I think I'm better to continue growing it from the tip here. So that leaves me with one more branch. I'm going to remove an old leaf here. This one here. And again, it's quite long. I've got a leaf out the back here. That would be a good place to prune it. It would redirect the branch so it's not growing over top of this one in the front here. I've got a bit of ramification at the tip. I've got some vertical shoots, but this vertical shoot isn't really usable, and that's about it. I have just those 2 branches. So I think I'm going to prune it back to that leaf facing out the back. So here I go. Like that. And that really flattens that Cascade branch out. It's looking quite nice, actually. This branch out the back here, it's a new branch, and I do like it. I think I'll just prune the tip off of it. Yes, I'm going to prune the tip off. No, I'm not. I'm going to leave it grow. It can definitely strengthen up and get a little closer to the size of this one. I am going to remove this leaf here. It's kind of growing across the other branch. And that takes care of the pruning on the tree. Let's step back and have a look at it. Here is an overall look at the tree. I think it's looking quite nice. I'm very happy with it, actually. It has its flaws, but I think it has a basic good structure. Something, you know, I can develop into the future, keep refining it. So next I want to have a look at the root base. This tree hasn't been repotted in a long time, and it's due this year. So I'm going to do two things. I'm going to root prune it when I repot it, and I think I'm going to try and find a better pot. This pot is okay. It's not a bad style for the tree. It's sort of a Cascade, a short Cascade pot. I'm not sure about the color. The blue with the green leaves. I think I could find something better. I'm not sure what color I would go with. I do like the color of the feet. It matches the trunk really nicely. So if I can't find anything better, I think this pot is okay. There's nothing wrong with it. So let's have a look at the roots now. I'm going to remove some of the moss and just see what's going on with the surface roots. I'm going to come in with the tweezers and just start removing moss away from the trunk here and get this cleaned up. So this tree was one of those trees that probably had no hope of becoming a bonsai or a good looking bonsai, but I think, you know, a few decisions on the styling and it's starting to develop into something nice. It's a work in progress, but it's come a long way from that ugly stick in a pot. And I think, any tree has potential, no matter how ugly it is or how unnatural it looks. It just takes, the right eye. Sometimes a bit of growth will stimulate your ideas of what to do with the tree. I've got a few trees that, I'm growing that I'm not really sure what I'm going to do with them in the end. But, you just keep growing them, they get new branches, and eventually you hope a design opens up. And eventually it will. And that always happens, that you keep growing and pruning a tree and you open up new possibilities as the new branches grow in, and usually you get a nice tree in the end. It just sometimes takes a lot of decisions, sometimes very hard decisions. And my decisions, my philosophy is always do what's best for the tree. Don't look at the time frame. If you have to do a big chop that's going to leave a scar that'll take 10 years to heal, well, if it's best for the tree, do it. Because, that's what bonsai is all about, is trying to develop your trees, not, worrying about time. Because in the end, your trees will outlive you if properly cared for, and someone else will take it over, and maybe you won't see the results of your decisions in your lifetime, but someone else will have the benefit of some of those decisions you made. I would be interested if anyone has photos of lemon trees in a cascade form from nature. They could send them to me.
I don't know if you'd ever see one in, real life. I have seen, when I was in Florida, I've seen wild orange trees growing in groves. And you get some pretty bizarre forms to them. And when I say bizarre, not a standard looking tree. Sort of a twisted tree. But again, I've never seen a cascade or a semi-cascade. I've got my toothbrush out now. Well, it's not my toothbrush, it's a toothbrush. So you can see the roots on this tree, they're not like ideal surface roots. However, they're getting old, and maybe when I go to repot it, I can do some root pruning and make some decisions of what I want to do with the root system. But, for now it's interesting, twisty. It looks in scale with the tree. It's not horrible looking. Yeah, so there's the root base cleaned up. I'll clean up the moss that's growing over the lip of the pot also, just to tidy it up for today. So I'll be repotting this in spring. When I see, the buds swelling and about to grow, I'll repot it. Okay. All right, let's clean up and take a final look at the tree. Here is a look at what I pruned off the tree today. So not, no major branches, but a few long ones, a lot of tip pruning, bit of moss cleanup. So let's look at the tree now. I noticed, after cleaning out this branch structure, I have two branches here that are almost opposite branches, and I've got the two branches on this side, so I was thinking of maybe eliminating this one. Tough decision. I just think that's going to cause a problem in the future, having these two branches opposite here. They're not directly opposite, but they're pretty close. And because I have this one here, I could get rid of this one. It's sort of redundant. It's a nice branch. I could remove the back one, but then I still have the two parallel branches there. So, let me have a look from the front. Ugh. If I get rid of this branch from the front view, I have a very long branch that's kind of exposed with very little foliage on it. Now this branch could grow into its place and fill in that section. I think I better remove it. I think it's going to cause future problems. So, a tough decision, but I think it's the best for the tree in the long run. So, it's going to have to come off. It's a beautiful branch. However, it's just growing in the wrong spot. So, here I go. Tough decision, but off it comes. It's gone. The tree still looks fine without it. From the front view, it probably looks even better now. I'll show you from the front view. Here it is. So yeah, you don't even notice that branch missing, and when that other branch fills in, I think it'll look even better. I think it eliminates that one problem that would just get worse in time and make the decision even harder in the future. So that is the tree for today.
It's looking good. I really like this little Cascade tree. I can't believe I've had this tree for 8 years now. Time has just flown, turning a lemon into hopefully lemonade. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.